For everything you have been watching on a movie with respect to wars are currently happening before our eyes. The breaking news trending at the speed of light all over the internet at the moment is that the United States of America have finally succeeded in attacking Iranian nuclear sites, 3 of their nuclear sites, which is located at Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. This was confirmed by the President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald J. Trump, after he made a tweet on his X handle just few minutes after the United States of American Air Force successfully completed the attack. And according to the tweet that was made by Donald Trump, we have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That is the tweet that was made by Donald Trump. Indeed, I can tell you, this is a historic, successful military operation. Before we get into details, why do I say so? This B2 Spirit Stealth bombers that was used by the United States of America, this bomb have never been used before. This is actually their very first time, and it was successful. There was no interference. Iranian military Air Force never had a clue that United States of American militaries or Air Force were coming in. So it's a historic success to the United States of American military or Air Force. But before we talk about the consequences, because I do tell people that every action comes with consequences. Yes. In the last 24 hours, about 8 B2 Spirit stealth bombers left the United States of America through Missouri. And shortly after they left, they were fully loaded with bomb. And shortly after they left, they had to refuel on air. And these stealth bombers were heading to Guam. That was actually the distraction and the deception. Because they were heading to Guam, I do know that Iran military and the rest of the world would have thought that these, B2 Spirit Stealth bombers were heading to Europe, unknown to them that the Pentagon, the White House, already concluded plans to take out or obliterate, this nuclear enrichment facility of Iran within a twinkle of an eye. And therefore, it was obvious that these, stealth bombers were heading to Iran. At the end of the day, 6 of these B2 Spirit Stealth bombers were used at Iran Fordo nuclear enrichment facility, one of the biggest. And according to the verifiable information on the internet space, this nuclear enrichment facility is buried underground, is built behind a rock, about 80 to 90 meters, underground. That is about 240 to 300 feet deep into the ground. So what does that mean? They intentionally built that nuclear facility, that enrichment site in that way to make sure that no amount of airstrikes can actually destroy it. And that could be the singular reason why the United States of American Air Force decided to launch airstrikes using 6 B2 Spirit Stealth bombers. And what are the capacities of these, bombers? They are actually bunker busting bombs. Each of the bombs weighs about 30,000 pounds, which is equivalent to 1,340 or 1,360 kilograms. That is to tell you how heavy it is. And it is about 20 feet long with a diameter of about 2.6 feet. Simply telling you that each of these GBU-57 massive penetrator bomb is actually a real deal. And from the functionality of these bunker busting bombs, it is obvious that everything in that nuclear enrichment site is gone. Now let's get a little bit into more details. This GBU-57 massive penetrator bomb is designed to penetrate or travel up to 196 feet into a hard concrete that has, a compression strength of possibly 5,000 psi, and is designed to travel up to about approximately 27 feet into a hard concrete that has a compression strength of 10,000 psi. And for a moderately hard rock, this, GBU massive penetrator bomb can travel up to about 131 feet. Don't forget that this Fordo enrichment site is buried into about 80 to 90 meters underground, which is about 240 to 300 feet. Now, imagine when one of the stealth bombers penetrate, because from the functionality, the way it works, the bomb, the component, the shield, is made from high strength materials. In fact, it is made from cobalt alloy. So at the point of penetration, it is hard to cause a damage to the bomb. And the way it is designed, the bomb continues to penetrate until it gets to the assigned depth. You know what I mean? And there is also a delay tactics which delays the bomb from detonation until it gets to where the target is before detonation. So as it travels, because it's a high precision, bunker busting bombs, what happens is that at the point when the first bomb is sent, possibly, the second bomb also travels through, the same point of entrance into where the first bomb had gone and eventually detonated. So it means that if the first bomb, for example, travels 196, feet, for instance, and the second bomb is released, it simply means that the second bomb will even travel even more faster. So, and we can see that according to the information available on the internet space, there are 2 exits in that very Fordo facility. And American Air Force was also able to strike in through this exit. So, according to the information Donald Trump released, he maintained that American Air Force, American soldiers have completely obliterated this very uranium enrichment facility. More so, the other 2, nuclear enrichment sites, Natanz and Esfahan, enrichment sites were also targeted and destroyed completely by the United States of American, Navy. They launched, missile attack from their submarine, what they call 30 Tomahawks. They used 30 Tomahawks to launch series of attacks on this very nuclear, enrichment site. Why they decided to use Tomahawks, according to the information available, is that Israel has already been firing missiles to those very nuclear facilities, and it is believed that Israel had done up to about 50 to 65 to 70% of elimination, of removing and destroying the facility. So United States of American government, through their submarine, which is located about 400 miles away from Iran, launch series of, ballistic missiles attack using, 30 Tomahawks. And eventually, they were able to take down all these nuclear enrichment, sites in Iran. Now, let's talk about the consequences. Aside the fact that Iran is definitely going to retaliate this very attack, which many are speculating that this will lead into a full-blown war between the United States of America, Iran, and Israel. Nobody can tell at this point in time what will be the scale of, the escalation that is yet to happen now after this attack from the USA government. So another aspect of the consequences of that very attack is that a lot of people are, raising concerns of radiation pollution and radiation contamination, that people who are living in the neighborhood of this nuclear enrichment site, uranium enrichment site, are going to experience some level of destruction from radiation exposure. Usually, uranium itself is a radioactive element, and as such, there could be cases of, radiation explosion in that neighborhood. But according to some experts, it has been stated categorically that it is uranium hexafluoride that Iran has in that enrichment site. And usually, uranium hexafluoride is one of the compounds that is used in this enrichment process, because naturally, or from chemistry point of view, the uranium that is fission realistic is uranium-235, an isotope of uranium-238 that is, able to undergo a fission process, which is used in nuclear reactors and in making nuclear weapons. So uranium on its own comes as a naturally occurring, element, which is uranium-238, of which this naturally occurring uranium-238, it is not fissionable. You cannot use it for making, nuclear weapons or using them in nuclear reactors. You need to, separate the isotope that is usable, that is fissionable, which is uranium-235. So uranium hexafluoride is used to store, this uranium-235. So at the point of, concentrating it and building the concentration of uranium-235, when the time is due to use them, the hexafluoride is separated from uranium in order that you may get the actual, isotope that is required for making nuclear weapons and, also using nuclear reactors. As a chemist, I understand the chemical pathway to an extent. So there may not be any cases of radiation explosion or radiation contamination if truly what they have there at the enrichment site is uranium hexafluoride. It is not that very contagious, except when it begins to react with moisture, begin to react with water, then you begin to see that very uranium hexafluoride undergo another exothermic reaction to produce hydrogen fluoride and uranyl fluoride and all of that. So that is when we'll begin to have some risk, because hydrogen fluoride is a very toxic gas and all of that. So I sincerely hope that it is also going to be safe at the end of the day, that people who are living in that neighborhood will be saved. And more so, the design of this very, B2 stealth bombers, it comes in such a way that the bomb penetrates the ground, go to do the job, do the damage, do the explosion, and preserve the surfaces. It doesn't destroy the surfaces. You know what I mean? So it simply goes down and do the job it is assigned to do, leaving the surface protected. So possibly whatever that is there underground will probably collapse, get destroyed, and then remain also in that underground. And I know that this is definitely going to cost Iran a lot. Iran is an oil producing country, so it will not also take them a lot of time to begin to acquire such, materials again. But it beats my imagination why people on earth sometimes spend a lot of money in building weapons or, constituting materials that are used in building, weapons of mass destruction. It is quite unfortunate. So the worrisome here is what will be the next line of escalation, what Iran is going to do and how it's going to affect the world at large. It is now obvious that United States of American government is officially going into a war with Iran, and Iran has been in war with Israel. So from all indication, it's going to really be too hard for Iran, because Donald Trump has maintained that Iran should come out now straight and have a peace talk. That the more they delay and the more, brutal way they decide to go, that the more harder the United States of American government will hit Iran further. So these are going to be interesting but dangerous times ahead. I personally sincerely pray from my heart that all of this crisis will come to an end. I can never be an advocate of any form of rascality. I can't be an instrument to destroy mankind. God forbid. That is not why I am created. And at this point, I will allow you guys to be the judge. Don't forget to let me know what you think in the comment section and share this video. My another person, Siam. God bless you.